We're starting off high.
So we can get a two fools agree on that one. Oh, by the way, look, we got the wide shot. Ah!
there was you had accountability. Now what I can
Now all you need is a podcast and a YouTube channel.
No, not even.
Where give me the money. Show me the money.
Apparently there's a Foolproof page.
Shoot the J. Shoot it. Live on Facebook.com/Foolproof Entertainment Network. I need you on Twitter. I need you to repost the Facebook pages.
To raise a human before I would
trust a human to raise back wolves.
Before I would trust a pack of humans to raise wolves.
Right. I hear you. Yo, what up, fools? Welcome to another edition of Do Fools Agree. As always, I'm your host, Michael Reggie, here with my main man, Clifford Jordan Jennings.
Who's that guy?
I don't know. Who's that guy?
I don't know.
Who that be?
I don't know him.
Oh, man. How's your week?
My week. Last I counted, it was 7 days.
Fair enough.
It's been 7 days since the last time we've done this.
Indeed it has.
Yeah, that's about all I can tell you about this last week.
Nah, I hear you. It's been, I don't know. It felt like this week went fast. And I'm not really sure why, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but here we are.
I don't know if it went fast. I would just say my porridge was just right. Wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
So
I had, I realized something about 10 minutes ago.
what?
So I have not done a good job keeping up with the house. And so I hired somebody, a cleaning person, to come in. And I thought they were just going to do, like, what we had talked about, or what I had asked was, like, just do me a favor. Like, wash the floors downstairs and, like, clean the bathrooms. That was supposed to be it. Well, they ended up vacuuming the second floor, including the bedrooms. And I may have a
And vacuumed up one of your cock rings.
no. See, I feel like that you could like play off like, oh, that was just a washer, whatever.
Nah.
So
they see
I have
buzzer on the end of it.
I have a under the bed restraint system. And they had definitely, like, lifted it up and just put it on the bed.
Okay. Oh, so that was a thorough clean.
Right. I was not expecting that level of clean. I was not expecting them to go into the bedrooms.
You have restraint systems and everything. He got a Bang Bros cleaning service come through.
And it's this, honestly, it's this cute, I think she's Hispanic. She might be Latina. She's probably I don't know. I don't know if one's more politically correct these days.
It's the same thing regardless.
All right, fair enough. But she's probably late 30s, early 40s, maybe early to mid 40s. She's cute, and she does the service with her daughters. And I'm pretty sure the young ones were the ones cleaning my room.
That's not good. Why would she set her kids up like
right,
that? Like,
right. Teaching them the value
you're
of
the adult. You should be on bedroom duty.
teaching them the value of hard work, I guess, because they were on
Man,
the
but stop.
bathrooms and the
Exposing
bedrooms.
them to all kinds of fluids in a bedroom. Like, come on now, like that's your old ass.
I just hope they didn't go through with the black light or anything. I mean,
listen, we don't need none of that.
What's that line from Guardians of the Galaxy? It's a good thing this isn't a black light. This would light up like a Jackson Pollock painting.
I feel like I heard that. What? Which one was that on?
I feel like that's the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen them both, I believe. I like them for some reason, but I'm not really like interested in this new one.
I mean, I think we talked about it on the show. Like, I think the third one, in terms of like being a good movie, is a good movie. It doesn't feel as much like a Guardians movie because I don't think it has kind of the one-liners and the zingers. I would take it over the second one in a heartbeat, and it may actually be my favorite of all three, but if you like the first two, you may not like the third one, which is a little weird. He lost me
after he fucked up with Thanos.
Yeah. Well, and it just didn't make sense.
The game fits the league.
Right.
Get him out of there. Why would I go watch him in there again?
It's his fault that we had to watch Peter Parker get dusted. Crying in Tony Stark's arms as he fades away.
Niggas played to y'all's motherfucking little poor ass hearts.
No doubt.
They did. They just played to them.
Nah, they did.
They did.
Speaking of Peter Parker, though, Spider-Man played the Miles Morales PS5 game. That game is sweet. Like, I didn't think that you could do like the web slinging thing and make it like feel natural and feel right. And they did that. That game is legit.
Right.
Now the problem is that it was like the story is like 12 hours, but
it's not long.
Nah. But A-Reg is having fun, just like treating it like an open world game and doing like the side quests and stuff. I am. I did. I bought it. I haven't played it yet, but yeah, I downloaded that and Ragnarok today.
I don't recall that one, and don't get me wrong, I haven't just put hours into it.
Right.
But I believe I put at least 12 into it, and I don't think I was close to an ending.
All right. Well, and that was the thing, wasn't that?
Known it, but
wasn't the Miles Morales one like half a game, anyways? Basically, it was originally like DLC for the first one, wasn't it?
See, I don't know. I don't know about the DLC because, you know, I'm not a PlayStation guy. I just played what was already on there. I didn't even look at DLC content or nothing like that. But I know that it was one of the feature games when the 5 came out.
Yeah. Yep. So I wonder if it started as like DLC and then they did like, because it doesn't, I mean, I guess it's a full game. It feels a little short for, you know, a $60 game or whatever, but the second one is coming out soon, I think.
Yeah, nah, but I will say the mechanics of the game are amazing.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
And being able to do like tricks and stuff while you're swinging around.
Right, but the fact that it's just so, like, the swinging is so fluid. The only thing that gets me is like cutting corners.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it can get a little wonky and like you like cut it wide or like you don't go in where you're.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything about it, that's a good game.
Yeah. So that was my foray into PlayStation. Let's see. I'm trying to think if I had any inadverts. I don't think I do. What do you got?
Well, I do have one. And I tried to make it as ignorant as possible since I knew that we was going to be on a more serious note tonight.
Fair enough.
I guess I wouldn't say serious, but you know what I mean. A more intellectual topic, I'll say. So my inadvert comes from when you have those sex dreams. I assume you've had at least one. Everybody's had them.
Everybody has.
Where do you think the box comes from? You know what I'm saying?
Like, I think I know what you're getting at. Is there something in the real world that's perpetuating that for you?
I don't even know if I'm saying like on no real world situation. I'm just saying like in your mind, you thought of that feeling. What does it? Whose is it? Like, is it like a Mr. Potato Head situation where you can have this girl, this box? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where does it come from? Like, is it the best one you ever had that sticks with you subconsciously and you just, transfer it into the dream? What is it?
I think that's a great point, because I don't know that I've ever had a bad sex dream.
Right.
Like, they're always good sex.
So maybe it's like a super box where it's like you take what you.
It's whatever works best for you is what it is.
And it's
it may be mythical. It may not actually exist.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, where does it come from? Like, because I know your mind is it's a crazy place, but it has to come off of experience. So it would lead me to believe that it would have to be one of, if not a combination of your past partners.
I know whose it is.
Which leads me to a question, right? And this question is just as ignorant as my inadvert.
All right.
So if somebody was to mummy wrap you,
okay,
and drop you down with a crane and just dip you in, do you think you would be able to identify who you were dipped into?
No, absolutely not. Nope. You could blindfold me and take the how many ever over the last 2 years and just have them each take turns kind of like lowering themselves on. Wouldn't be able to tell you.
I heard that was a Japanese game show.
If not, it should be.
That's not even a joke. That's not even a joke. But I do feel like certain ones possibly.
You think?
I have a real acute, like.
Wait, so no other part of them touches you, just that?
Yeah, you're just mummy wrapped and you just dip down.
No.
And then pull back up.
Nope.
And you would have to determine.
Could not. And I would not play this game because I don't want to play the guessing game afterwards. And end up hurting somebody's feelings.
Nah, the guess that's private. That's a private answer. You got a card, you drop it in. They can guess, and whoever they think is right. I don't know.
Afterwards, you're trying to describe it back. Well, it was quite moist.
Hints of nutmeg, notes of
notes of citrus.
You know what I'm saying?
Is it acidic or basic? I don't know.
Listen. That's ignorant.
Always.
Fun stuff.
So So somehow I've found myself in conspiracy TikTok finally. Because everything that pops up, like every third video, is some conspiracy theory. My favorite as of late is that the Arctic Circle isn't actually ice. That there's actually just a wall around the Arctic. And that the real Mount Zion and the Garden of Eden are behind that wall.
The Arctic.
Mm-hmm.
Like
so
Antarctica?
No, the other side. So the North Pole.
Okay.
Where
so
we don't
Antarctica
believe
is the South Pole?
Yes.
Okay.
But satellite imagery shows you that the Arctic, there's no land masses there.
So what is it?
So it's just sheets of ice.
That's what I was about to, okay.
Now, that did have me wondering, like, could there be something under the ice? But I think with as much as the polar ice caps have melted over the last 2 decades, I think we would see something by now on, like, satellite imagery. But, in addition to that, and I think I sent this one to you, the one about ancient Egyptians...
Well, before, I know where you're going, but before you get there, just on that last thought, we probably don't send submarines up under there because of how dangerous it would be, huh?
I would think so, yeah. Although, with the level of melt, and if you went deep enough, that ice isn't going to be a problem. So, who knows? We could be exploring it.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know.
I
don't know. But you know. So, this is the generation of theories.
Yeah,
they don't gotta be right. They just gotta be interesting. Hold up real quick.
All right. I love when he leaves me, like, in the middle of the show. But luckily, this one, he came right back, so it's not going to be that much of a problem. But
stop talking like he ain't listening. I ain't say cover this bitch. I said, hold up real quick.
Right quick.
You thought it was going to be me picking my food up from the front.
Right. So, the other one that's gotten me lately, and this one ties more to our previous discussions. Both ancient Samaria, Mesopotamia, Egypt, all talk about a specific history that involves otherworldly beings.
Right.
And they all talk about, like, a period 25,000 years ago and a period 50,000 years ago. Or before their history, I guess. Now, I would need to go back and look at timelines of when they believe the continents separated. But the continental divide, so it used to all be one landmass, right? Pangea.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Does that timing put it at a point where you could explain the pyramids in Egypt with, like, pyramids in Chichen Itza, with, like, pyramids in different Asian countries?
That would make sense.
Are all dated far enough back that we don't believe they should have had the technology to do that.
And it almost seems like if you had people from other worlds, they would have travel, so those pyramids would almost pose as stop signs in the neighborhood.
Right, like those are almost guideposts or markers that could be seen from, especially if, I mean, you don't know, but, like, the other theory was that, like, some of the precision of the stonework, like, almost necessitates, like, laser cutting. So imagine the pyramids lit up either with a laser or lit up even with fire. like you would be able to see those from space.
Right.
So to the point, like to your point of them being like guard or basically guideposts or markers, that I think there's some credence to that theory.
That's interesting.
The one that popped up side by side with that though, I almost had to laugh, and then I'm like, nah, that couldn't be right. Right? Was actually there were two. So this is me and my deep dive on like TikTok conspiracy, right? Conspiracy talk.
Right.
So the other two that popped up, one was some dude who was on Joe Rogan talking about the fact that there is now belief circulating that at some point in human history, within human history, gravity actually changed. That the reason why gravity wasn't observed in the way it was observed until, I think it was the 1600s, was because gravity functioned differently before that.
As far as what?
As far as like that's why that was his
heavier?
explanation. No, it was lighter. That was his explanation for why you don't have any flying beasts like pterodactyls, which would have had to have weighed, 2 tons or whatever. Like there's nothing like that on Earth anymore.
I don't know if they'd have weighed 2 tons.
But regardless, like similarly, there is nothing the size of what we believe a pterodactyl or pteranodon was currently flying our skies. The other one was that's the explanation for dragons, was that dragons were real and they could fly, and that their bones are made up of something that couldn't be fossilized.
right, because
so again, this is deep
animal
dive.
has to have hollow bones.
Right. But we've seen fossilized birds before, which also have hollow bones. Yeah, Archaeopteryx, the first bird.
The first bird. When was that bird roaming around? The first bird.
Time of the dinosaurs.
You know what, though? I think that the hollow bones could have actually been an evolution.
Yeah.
I actually think that back in the time of the dinosaurs, just because of who you had to roll around with, and you know what I'm saying, from like a wrestling team standpoint, even the lightweights, the motherfuckers that rolled around, they got pretty big.
Right.
Rolling around with everybody else. So what I'm getting at is I could almost imagine aerial animals back in those times to have been operating off of muscle alone.
Yeah. Versus all
what I'm saying? Just muscle and wingspan, as opposed to my bones being light so I can keep a glide. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that would make more sense as a dragon, because a dragon that can spit fire is scary, but if you could throw a baseball bat at a mean angle and break its neck, it's not that
and
scary.
The reference to dragons is an interesting one, because similar to how you have pyramids with similar structures from similar time frames, that we don't believe those cultures intermixed.
And dragons are trying to date them, that like they've been in competition of dates,
right?
And they're popping up everywhere, and found them in Australia and all kinds of shit, which Australia makes sense. You would think that they would have known that there was a pyramid like that there,
right? But similar story for dragons. Why is it that why is it that cultures all over the world from about the same time frame have stories or myths or legends of dragons being real?
Right. I just think it was a different time frame. But the question that would then pop into my head is, what changed it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, like a lot of animals, an apex predator, like, all right, taking the assumption that dragons are real.
Mm-hmm.
An apex predator
at least pterodactyls.
Well, I'm actually going to go the dragons route and kind of give you a reason for why I think
I'm
it could have been
following.
possible. And I'm not saying they could breathe fire. I'm not saying they were magical. An apex predator the size of a dragon, say that it was a remnant of the dinosaur age.
Right, right.
Only a handful survive. But they survive and they basically become apex predators in their own regions.
But where would
and then what do humans do when faced with an apex predator?
They hunt it.
Right.
But
that could be a reality thing where they were hunted to extinction.
Or maybe even deeper than that, right? No, correct. I mean, following on your point.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a situation where they didn't even migrate. Maybe it was, like you said, the breaking of when Pangea broke apart. You know what I'm saying? And they just stayed in their area.
They stayed in their area.
And floated off to wherever they went.
Right.
Because that was about to be my point about why pterodactyls wouldn't be around. Why wouldn't they be around now? Because we have skyscrapers and shit. They'd have nowhere to dwell. So immediately they'd be killed.
Yeah.
The first time you see a 20-foot animal with wings in your backyard, motherfuckers are gunning that down.
We'll gun down a 110-pound deer, let alone 2 tons.
Ain't no tranquilizers about to get used on that. They're gunning it down.
Right.
And I bet you have pterodactyl guts all over your house. And the government doesn't pay for it. The cleanup job.
That was another conspiracy video I saw. It was supposedly footage of basically an interrogation of an alien life form. And the alien said, so the interrogation asked, did you travel?
It was just the audio.
No, they showed the face, which is why I don't
alien?
really believe it. Yeah. And it was kind of the bulbous head thing and the big eyes. But they asked, They asked, how many light years did you travel to get here? And the alien says none. They're like, where are you from? And he says Earth. And then they ask, are you human? And he said descended from. And then they asked, like, how did you get here? And he basically goes into a little bit of a diatribe on, like, space and time. How if you can travel one, you can travel the other. And so what it was trying to allude to was that the alien was actually from the future, had come back in time, and was observing because they had lost their history of what happened on Earth.
Listen.
This is where I shut off TikTok because I'm like, I've gone too far down the rabbit hole.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying that none of that's not true.
Right.
Could all be true. But that's where motherfuckers just are like, what are you looking for? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you looking for?
Right.
And then even if you had an idea of what took place, you finna write the alien Bible? Or the alien, you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
What's it called? Biography?
Right.
You're
the history
equipped
book.
to do so? I don't care if you were Elon Musk, motherfuckers would be like, why are you writing the alien Bible or the alien biography?
Right.
But even if they knew he wasn't an alien, and I'm not sure of it, but even if they knew he wasn't an alien, they'd be like, why are you, what makes you?
Right. What makes you the authority?
And didn't tell us.
Cliff
You
got
drove
abducted.
a Tesla to Mars. Fucking, and then this motherfucker's supposed to be fighting Mark Zuckerberg.
I saw that.
Man, I would love to see it.
Right.
And you know what? I don't even think that.
And the winner takes on Putin.
Putin fucking shit up. Putin fucking shit up.
Putin was almost the victim of a coup.
Listen, don't no leader, government, or country want to see Putin. I'm sure it's a country somewhere where their president is on some bullshit. But listen, I don't give a fuck if Putin is 5'8". He's fucking shit up. Putin is fucking shit up.
Pictures of him riding a horse without his shirt on. I mean,
listen, he's fucking shit. Putin fucking shit up. Ain't nobody got Putin. Imagine us putting Biden against Putin. Biden wouldn't be able to get up off the stool.
Can we elect? Can we make a promise after we get past 2024 that our next leader is somebody that can fight, like fist fight?
There's nobody. We haven't had that since Obama, and we probably didn't have it prior to since Theodore Roosevelt.
That's probably true. Because the Georges weren't fighting.
The fuck?
I don't know. Bill Clinton might have been able to.
You said who?
I said Bill might have been able to.
I don't know. Old Bush Jr. might have been in a few bar fights.
Cross me once, shame on you. Cross me twice.
You know,
you don't cross me twice. He knew
something about it. He knew something about crossing the motherfucker. And all I'm saying is, I don't think he won them, because I do think he ended up using his humor to get out of a lot of situations.
Right.
And it stuck clearly by the time he got into his presidency. But I'm sure he threw them knuckles a few times in his day.
Bro, maybe.
Not like George Bush Sr., though. He was like, he's a pussy compared to...
Oh, man.
I wouldn't doubt it. Them is Texas boys. And you know how that they coming out with shows like, what is it?
I don't know.
The cowboy shits, 1982
or
whatever.
Yeah.
You know, shit like that. I guarantee you got New Jersey mafia wives. Let us find out about the old school oil families and see if that shit don't add up to how mafia ran shit.
No doubt.
You hear what I'm saying? So I'm sure the Bushes was about that action at one point in time. It was probably like the Kennedys, where they was like, we involved in shit. We just need you to cover for us.
Right. No doubt. That was the other one. That was another one of the conspiracies that popped up, was that JFK and Marilyn Monroe were both killed because JFK was about to go public with aliens being real and here, and he had told Marilyn, and so they had to kill her too. And
I mean, that makes sense, right? And if it did make sense, then let's keep it a buck. Lee Harvey Oswald was actually Monk in a human bodysuit, because I wouldn't doubt that the aliens wouldn't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because let's keep it a buck. If aliens is like, this is my home. And it's almost like how racists would do people who didn't look like them. Like, where are you from? You know what I'm saying? Not thinking that possibly they could be from where you're from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So they like, bitch, I've been here before you. Like, my people been here before you. I'm from here. And you just thinking like they traveled light years away to get here. Meanwhile, they just found a Nikola Tesla time machine, just like any human would, and traveled into the future to see what was happening, and then came back and was like, "These niggas about to blow themselves up. Fix it."
we need help. Well, that actually gets us into a little bit towards the topic. So, and I actually downloaded this book, audiobook format. So I'll probably come back in a month and be like, all right, here's what it says versus what we thought it meant.
Well, I'm gonna give you a perfect synopsis.
But the idea is that history basically repeats itself every 80 years. At least recent kind of modern human history. And the theory is that the last major crisis time, or the fourth turning, was, I believe it was coming out of World War II. And so that rough timeline of roughly 80 years, and it's anywhere from like 70 to 90 years, that we are basically due for another crisis event and another golden age. Right. Because after crisis follows usually a golden age.
Right.
And the theory there is that, so, like, 80 years ago, World War II, attack on Pearl Harbor. 80 years before that, the first shots in the Civil War. 80 years before that was the Revolutionary War. 80 years before that was, I'm trying to remember, but there was another conflict in the late 1600s, early 1700s. So the theory is that we are coming up on that time again, and that these turnings, or saculums, saculums was their word for generations. But that basically we have all the right generational markers for that to become a thing again. And what's interesting is, what I found interesting was some of the lingo and about the nomad generations, or the nomad saculum, is like Gen X for us. We would be in the...
We would be in the, what's it called? After the awakening.
Our generation is basically the hero generation, which scares the shit out of me because this goes back to my conversation that we don't have any leaders in our generation.
No,
and that the generation after us is like the artist generation.
Right. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have, out of all the generations, I wouldn't have I wouldn't be worried if our generations were going to fight.
Yeah.
I do think that, and I'm not trying to like seeing nobody, but I do think we are the last generation of fighters.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, yeah, there may be like fighters, you know.
Well, us especially,
like, you might actually fight like in a cage or a ring.
And this is where I think,
as far as seeing people go to war and all that, like, I think our generation was the last one that knows what that really means.
I agree with that statement, and I think those of us in the,
aside from those who did,
the quote unquote millennial generation, I think there's a split even within the millennials. Like, those of us that grew up closer to Gen X versus those that grew up closer to Gen Z. And so our generation, like you and I, and basically folks on probably 5 years on either side of us, grew up with like the analog world before the advent of like the internet and all the digital technology and all of that.
Right.
Like, we were the last of
knowing to get your hands dirty.
Right. And like the last of the streetlight kids, right? Like, I remember riding bikes with you and like knowing that we had to be back home by, you know, an extra certain time. Like,
listen.
But that's the thing.
Can't stay at my mom's house with me, and we can't be back by the time the streetlights come on and see me. We both got about to get hands put on us.
So that to me, and honestly, like, we're probably the last generation where like a parent would come in and be like, "Yeah, my kid gets out of line, you can smack him." Like, that was the first conversation my dad and Shelby's dad ever had.
Right. My mom gave permission to the school.
Sometimes he just needs a quick thwack. So with that in mind, I think that it's interesting. So what that would kind of circle back. So what they describe as the nomad generation. And it's interesting because they actually have like this sweet little grid. That's why I keep looking over here. Of like what falls into it. And so the nomad generation or the nomad archetype, like for the current, is Gen X. So the reputation as a child that they were bad. They're alienating in their coming of age. Their primary focus in their coming of age was self-sufficiency. Young adulthood was based on competing. Transition to midlife was frenetic to exhausted, so basically they do everything and then they disappear, which is why a lot of folks refer to Gen X now as like the silent generation.
Listen, that sounds like me to a
Well, and
right
that's,
there.
but I'm with you. Like, I do think that you and I in particular, and folks a couple of years either side of us, like, we, while labeled millennials, we lean Gen X on that.
All right.
Leadership style entering adulthood is solitary and pragmatic. Reputation when they get to elder is just being tough. Meaning, like, you're willing to negotiate. Like,
okay.
It doesn't all have to be give me all or nothing. It's like, I can be pragmatic.
Okay.
I can say blah, blah, blah. Reputation as an elder is tough. Treatment as an elder is they're going to feel abandoned. And then, let's see. The hero generation. Let's see. It's interesting that you talked about like fighting and like willing to get our hands dirty, because we would be in line with like the Arthurian time slide or time scale, like Arthurian knights. So that would be millennials. Reputation as children is that they're, overall good. Coming of age is that it's based on empowering.
Wait, Arthurian knights is in King Arthur?
Yeah.
And why is that the
because for their turning their 4 cycles, that was the generation, that was the time scale where
I see what
the
you're
hero
saying.
generation was in place. Primary focus in coming of age is the world outside of us. Young adulthood is about building. Transition in midlife is energetic to hubristic. I'm gonna have to look up that with that. Like, is that meaning hubris? Like, we're overconfident in what we can do? Leadership style entering elderhood is collegial and expansive. Reputation as an elder is powerful, and treatment as an elder is that will be rewarded. And then the other two that they talk about is the artist archetype, which would be basically Gen Z right now. So similarly, reputation as a child is kind of placid, quiet, which based on the Gen Zs I know, like, that would be someone like Maddie. That would be the artists in the family, the younger siblings. Coming of age, they're not fulfilled because they're going to be the artists of their generation, and you need experience for that to happen. Young adulthood is about improving. Transition is in midlife is going from conformist to experimental. See, this feels like Maddie to a T to me. Reputation as an elder that they're sensitive, they'll be treated well because they're liked, blah, blah, blah. And then the prophet generation would be the boomers. So, known as like spirited in their youth, sanctifying in their coming of age, focused on their inner world, which goes back to, some of the emotional intelligence may not, or not even emotional intelligence, but emotional empathy maybe not being there in that generation. Young adulthood is based on reflecting. Transition is going from detached to judgmental, which feels like the boomers I know.
That makes sense to me.
Leadership style, righteous and austere. Reputation as an elder is that they're wise, and then they're respected. So, based on that, that even more leans into the fact that the fourth turning that is coming, the fourth kind of block, is an age of crisis and emerging from that crisis in a new high. And so what it says is similar, honestly, to the book that talked about 2020's, the 2020 being basically redemption or damned. That puts it in the same time frame as like coming out of this decade. There will be something cataclysmic that either we're going to rise from or we're going to crumble.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Based on that little graph that dude drew, we're already in that time.
Right.
I just think, like I've been saying, like it ain't jumped off yet. Like ain't nobody.
But everything's bubbling. Like we're still in like the similar simmering point. We haven't bubbled over yet.
I think that's why we seeing the surfacing of a lot of things that we haven't seen in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Because it's like, whoa there, motherfucker, you blowing up my spot.
Right.
I can't have you blowing up my spot. So we about to send up the little sphere Corvettes that we got to see what's happening before. Because you would think about it. Maybe if just to round it back to what, old episodes, maybe the axis shift is them.
Maybe.
Because we know they can survive a big wave. So maybe that's just them saying, yeah, y'all about to fuck shit up. Let's
We're going to tilt this thing on its axis.
Yeah, let's reset.
Well,
Shake
and I mean,
up the snow globe real quick.
Right. And what's interesting is, I don't know, this goes back to, here's the question that I think will determine where we go as like a global human race. Is the next major conflict nation versus nation, or is it individuals against nation?
Right.
Meaning, is the next major conflict of our era, is it World War III, or is it individuals rising up and overthrowing governments? Because I think one of those leads to salvation and one of those leads to damnation.
Right. I think if I had to bet on the two, I would say it would be World War III before it would ever be people rising up.
Because I think that...
Because that's overdue.
That will be their mechanism to maintain control. Well, you're not gonna have an uprising when we're in the middle of a war with somebody else, are you?
Right.
When really, that's probably the perfect time. Where everything's deployed.
Listen, you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong on that.
My mom chiming in with, I don't think I always sound like a boomer, more like a millennial. Mom, I love you. I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Damn.
Yeah. And that I'm not gonna lie, like seeing that video, like it was enough for me to go get the book too. Like, and again, not that anything there. I think you can go back and look at history and come up with whatever patterns you want. Like, I think there's been enough human history that we can figure that kind of stuff out. Or you can make statistics say whatever you want them to say, basically.
But I would argue that they would be skewed closer to fact.
Yeah.
The further back you went, because you had to do actual research whereas looking up and getting it from somebody else online.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The more we get into that, the further we get from truth, because you didn't do the work to really figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I mean, what's interesting is that collectively, as again, like a global society, we can only go back so far. Because things like the library at Alexandria were burned down.
Right.
Because we know history is written by the victors.
There's a bunch of fuck motherfuckers out here running around burning down history.
Right. And I'm trying to remember, it was something like the Rangu tablet or something, but it's basically written in something that's older than Sanskrit that like we can't translate and no one's ever been able to translate, but it's almost like a perfectly preserved tablet.
I don't know the name, but I know what you're talking about.
That basically people think could give an indication of like prehistory.
Right.
Pre-written history. And I mean,
the
one with the Egyptians is interesting to me because we have a fair amount of detail on it. And it's like the way it's written or the way that it's described doesn't feel as myth-based as like Greek and Roman mythology or even Norse mythology. But again, the fact that you have so many cultures that are spread from so many different areas, places, etc., they all tell stories of beings more either technologically advanced than us or more superior to us in other ways.
Right.
Like that to me is just, it's utterly fascinating because you could get to a point where, like, yes, theoretically that could all be based on the same myth that was, you know, telephone gamed over the years in different places, right?
Right.
But there's almost too many coincidences for that to feel right. I don't know.
Listen, I know what you mean. Like I said, I would have never even gotten hip or been willing to watch some outer space shit until I thought that it was a reality. And I'm not saying I didn't believe in aliens before. I'm just saying I didn't think you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now a lot of the stories that were told about people coming from the underground and shit make sense.
The one that I found interesting was that there was, and this was a myth thing that like was basically proven true. And I think it was somewhere in like a remote section or island of, I want to say it was South America, but I can't remember for sure. But it was basically like, I mean, think Sasquatch but smaller, like human shaped, covered in hair, blah blah blah. But they actually found remains.
Right.
Like there is still stuff on this planet that we have not explored, let alone, I mean, frankly, below the surface, right?
Right.
And it's interesting to me, again, the whole concept of something like the pyramids that you see pop up in architecture around the world, different cultures but similar designs, and it's like somebody had to do it. And what was their purpose, right? Like, is it just to make them feel like they're closer to, I don't know, the sun, God, like, or did they serve a real purpose?
Listen. That's where you dig a whole nother well of questions.
Right.
Yeah. I couldn't assist with that.
See, and I thought this would be one that you jump in on. I got nothing.
Nah, that's beyond my level of depth right there. I mean, I have heard some things. And like, you never know what's true or what's not, what's
Right.
a story or what isn't. But I did hear that this was years ago, and I don't even know how I got on this rabbit hole. But you know how they say the lizard people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's just a species of extraterrestrial or whatever you want to call it. But they said that there was a there was a I guess like a treaty from a war that happened where they said that the people here would have to work in order to produce whatever for them, and it turned in from like ages, from years gone by, from material things to energy itself. And that's why they work us to death, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've heard those theories, and I back when I heard them, I was just thinking these are some crazy motherfuckers. But the more I think about it, I'm like,
Right.
you know what? It
There's
could
some
make
reality
sense.
to this.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe we think we paying for electricity, but when in fact we're producing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Completely. Well, and that was basically like, if you get into like the Egyptian, I think it was Shensu Hor or something like that. If you get into the relationship between them and humans, it was a similar thing where basically they worked us to death until an uprising, and basically we overthrew the gods. And that's why the gods either left or are no longer here or went into hiding or whatever you want to believe on that front. But like things like that, I think it's interesting if you think about it from like a numbers game perspective. Like, how many humans would it take to overthrow a god?
Like not even like on some god shit. If it was like they overthrew the gods,
Or just superior technology. Like,
right, but I would imagine it would be like on some Leonidas 300 shit, like
right.
where they showed the dude he could bleed, and his people was like, oh shit. Because keep it a buck, if motherfuckers came down in some ships, it don't matter if it was a few thousand of them compared to people just shooting up at them, it'd be over.
Right.
It'd be over.
As soon as you realize you could take them out, or are you talking about they would be like they win?
I'm talking about no, it'd be over. They'd be able to take us out. There'd be no way that if a couple thousands, you know what I'm saying? Ships just came around the area. Doesn't matter what you're shooting up at them.
Right. Right.
It's not gonna help.
One, those have to come down at some point. Two, if they're built
it's
to withstand space travel.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna help. So that's what I'm saying. It had to be a situation where they caught him on like a powwow, like on a meeting type shit. Because you didn't catch him in his shit. Unless maybe he neuralized us like the Men in Black and was like, we still gonna live in this bitch and y'all just gonna forget about it.
That was another conspiracy thing that popped up. It was like 200,000 years ago, you can actually tell that human genetic markers changed. And they specifically called out like the second chromosome, and basically what was done was to inhibit us and shorten our lifespan. And then that trait was passed down from generation to generation. And that's also an explanation for why lifespans are increasing now, that we're basically overcoming that genetic modification that was done by aliens, some higher power or whatever. Spent way too much time on the TikTok rabbit holes this week.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Like,
I've blown Cliff's mind. I've broken Cliff.
no, I wouldn't say I'm broken. I would just say I'm interested. Like,
You gonna go do your own research now?
you got
Come
to,
back to
you
me.
know what I'm saying? That's science. That's what science is, questioning everything. You gotta prove it. Prove it to me. That's just because the motherfucker say it don't mean it's true.
Well, and what's the other one that's interesting to me that, like, again, the what we don't know because we've built on top of. Like, if you look at some of the pyramid structures, primarily in South America, but I think also in Asia, like, the fact that they're overgrown now, and they look
Mexico
like
too.
Yeah, exactly. So they look like big hills, but when you dig in just a little bit, you can tell that it was a man-made structure or an artificially made structure. Like,
That's
how much of that is in, and even the show that you turned me on to, the Ancient Cities or whatever, or the Underground Ancient Cities, like, that's shit from 50 years ago. What's been buried from 200, 300, 500, 10,000 years ago?
What, on that underground city shit?
Yes.
No, that wouldn't be beyond 50 years.
I am saying that there were elements of that show that were only 50 years back.
Yeah, like the England shit and the Prohibition shit.
Right. But what I'm saying is, we have hidden things from less than 100 years ago. What are all the hidden things that, like, nature has overgrown, let alone we've built on top of?
All right.
And that's actually, there's actually a couple of theories around, like, Indian mounds were actually built on top of ancient temples that had been covered by earth or whatever through, like, natural decay. Not all of them, but a number of them were.
Right.
And that, to me, is just, like, what is sitting less than a mile below the surface on land, let alone what's been swallowed by the ocean at this point? It's just crazy.
I mean, I think it's a reason, honestly, I think it's a reason why people haven't. So when you get to asking questions like that, you usually only find 2 to 3 people that ever want to find the answer.
Ever are curious enough to find the answer.
Right. But the thing is, I believe that us as humans are naturally curious.
I agree.
So somebody's went for that answer before, and I think that whoever knows, we go to space before we go there for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's why you see motherfuckers come up missing or never come back with definitive evidence, whatever the case may be. Listen, it's a reason. I wouldn't doubt that, motherfuckers ain't been walking among us.
Yeah.
So how many aliens you think you fucked? I'm just
Oh, great question.
Shit.
I don't know.
Nah, I think I got at least one of them in there.
Maybe 2.
At least one of them. No, if you wrap me up like a mummy and dip me down that pool,
you be able to tell you which one?
I don't know if I'll be able to say which one the alien, but I'll be able to identify names. I bet you. I bet you.
And that is a perfect full circle. You got anything else you want to talk about tonight?
Nah, nothing on my mind.
All right, man. Well, I got to be up early for a swim meet, so let's go ahead and cut this.
Tell my little dude he better be a dolphin tomorrow. You know? You gotta work up to the killer whale.
I mean, he's that size now. He did get a doctor's appointment in. So 410, $140. He slowed down on the weight, which is good.
Right.
But $110 or 410 and $140. He already bigger than you were in 8th grade.
Damn near.
All right, man. Well, do us a favor. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Tell an enemy, tell them to troll. And love everybody.
I love everybody.
Even the aliens.
Even the aliens. Don't shoot till you see the whites in their eyes.
But what if their eyes are black, Cliff?
You never shoot. Love them.
And with that,
give them all.
peace out, fools.